Hi, I'm Isabelle.
And I'm Ivan, and this is DIY Detail. Today we're continuing our series of teaching a teenager how to detail a car. Now, we have this Jeep, and the paint's a little scratched up on the hood. So we're going to teach Isabelle, first of all, how to use a polisher, why to use a polisher, and what the different characteristics of different polishers are. But first, Isabelle, let's come in here and let's take a look at this surface. Now, if we look here, we actually don't see too many scratches, right?
Mm-hmm.
We take this light and we look at where the light is reflecting, we see a lot of scratches.
Yeah.
Now, a mistake that a lot of people do is take this light and bring it close. And when we bring it close, it floods out and you don't see the scratches anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to hold that light a little further up, and then you can really see the scratches. As we move across, you can see them all over the hood. So what we're going to be doing is trying to remove these scratches.
Okay.
And when we're removing the scratches, we're actually removing all the paint around the scratch, bringing it down to the level of the scratch. So if we have a deep scratch, we don't necessarily want to remove it because there's only a certain amount of paint on this, very, very thin. It's 50 microns, or the clear coat, I should say. There's paint underneath, but the clear coat is what we're working with. And if we try to remove too much of it, we can actually damage the vehicle.
Okay.
A lot of people are afraid of damaging the vehicle through polishing, but don't worry, we won't do that today.
Okay.
So we can put this light away. Now, we have different options when it comes to machines. One is the rotary, and the rotary is very simple. Just goes around in a circle. Nothing fancy there. And this is a tool that was around when I was your age. This tool is about your age. Anyways, it goes around, but it also spins. So we have the spinning action, like the rotary, but it has an offset, and that offset makes it so that this goes around in an orbit, and this one is a 21 millimeter. So you have a 21 millimeter orbit. So this is doing two things. That's why we call it a dual action machine. And that thing is the rotation and the oscillation. So this is a machine that I like to use to cut. And cutting means we want to attack this. We want to be a little rough with it. We want to level it out. And to do so, we have different pads. Now in the DIY Detail system, we have 3 specific pads. So let me get the 3 pads here. The most aggressive is our wool pad. The wool is a very aggressive pad, and it's designed specifically to use with a machine like this. Comes in a 3-inch, 5-inch, and 6-inch, depending on the size of your machine. And one thing that's important is the size of the backing plate. So this is a 6-inch backing plate, so we put a 6.5-inch pad on. You don't want to put a backing plate that's too small on a pad. So if we were to put a 6-inch pad on a 5-inch machine, there'll be a lot of pad hanging over, and it actually stresses the foam on the pad. So you want to match the two. So we have the wool pad for cutting. Then we have the gold standard waffle pad. And the waffle pad is the most universal pad. If you only have one pad, so you're going to high school, someone's car you want to fix, well, this is the pad you want to bring with you. It will do both cutting and polishing. And finally, we have our rotary jeweling pad. That's really well stuck to the Velcro. So we have a rotary jeweling pad. This pad is designed to give that high gloss finish, that really shiny, looks like a candied apple. That's what we're after. So those are the 3 pads. Now, on the table, we have a pad washer. For us, washing a pad is cleaning out the residue because, as I said before, we're removing paint from here.
Yeah.
When we're removing that paint, it's going somewhere, and where it's going is into the pad. We want to take it from the pad, deposit it in here, and start with a clean pad. We never want to put clean polish on a dirty pad. So that's why we have the pad washer. And finally, we have the gold standard polish. Now, you're new to polishing, which is a good thing. You don't have any bad habits. But a lot of people tend to overuse a polish. And if you overuse a polish, that creates a problem. Because now the abrasives, so like little rocks in here, you won't see the rocks, you won't feel the rocks, but the little abrasives are not able to do their job. They're not able to cut. So let's say you're trying to do your homework, but your sister is smothering you. It's not gonna work, right? Get out of my way. That's what you're doing here. So we want to, you want to let the abrasives do their job. And by having it in a spray, we use a lot less polish. And there's less chance of sling. And sling is when you have too much polish on your pad, you start the machine up, and then you get a line of polish around the room and on you.
Yeah.
So we don't want sling. Any questions so far?
No.
No? Okay. So let's get a machine in your hand. So we want to cut. Yeah, so you'll start with that. Now for the pad washer, we have rinseless wash in here. And let me do a little demonstration. We want to be fast with the pad washer. We don't want to be hard, we just want to be fast. If you go slow, you just get a little bit of moisture in there.
Yep.
But when we go fast, we get a fountain. It's the fountain we want cleaning our pad.
Okay.
So you just do 3 or 4 little hits. Very good. And then with the machine up against the plastic, put on speed 3. Then you want to put it speed 6 and just lift it up about 1/4 inch. Great. Spin it again. So now we have a good dispersion of polish all over the pad. The pad is damp, so you don't have any dry areas, because a dry pad is going to scratch the paint.
Yeah.
We don't want to scratch, we want to polish the paint.
You want to fix it.
Right. So next thing is, you have to put the cord over your shoulder, because we don't want the cord dragging on the vehicle. One question I get asked a lot is, how big of a section do I do? It's a great way of learning how big a section. Take your microfiber towel, that's the size of section you want to do. So it's easy to remember. So just up, down, left, right, up, down. Now with the machine, like I said, you don't have any bad habits. No pressure on the machine. Let the machine do the job.
Just glide.
Yeah, your father paid for the machine. Let him have the stress, not you.
Okay. You want me to start?
Yeah.
Yeah, what speed?
Okay. Yeah. So you're going to put the machine on the surface and you're going to start it up, and we're at speed 3, which is a good medium speed for that machine. Faster is not better. Slower is actually better. As long as you have this backing plate rotating, you have enough speed.
Okay.
And use the trigger lock. So on the side of the machine here, you have the trigger lock. So once you start it up, you can use the trigger lock. That way you're not having to have a death grip on the machine.
Okay.
So here you're overreaching.
Okay.
Now we have this big bumper in the way, so that doesn't help you.
Yeah.
But by overreaching, what you're doing is, I'll exaggerate it here. The machine was flat, and then when you're overreaching, you're lifting the machine like that. Now, one thing with these machines is you don't have to have 2 hands on it. I just have 2 fingers. That's all you need. And now the machine is staying flat. I can go all the way up here and the machine still stays flat because I'm not trying to reach like this. And it's going to give you better posture. You're standing up. When you stand up straight, you have that better posture. Your back is happier. And when you reach my age, you'll remember that he told me this thing about posture. I guess, yeah, I got a bad back. There's a couple times I ignored the posture thing. So the posture is very important.
Okay.
So we've polished this section. Let's take a look at what we've done. So we have 2 towels. One is a damp towel. This is dampened with the rinseless wash. And what this does is allow us to remove the polish residue without a lot of pressure. So we're not putting a lot of pressure on the towel to remove that polish residue. Then we just take another towel and dry it. So even with that little amount of work, we already see an improvement.
Yeah.
Let's get the light. So we have about a 50% improvement just with that little amount of work. We didn't do a lot, but we have improvement. So we need to do a little more.
Yeah.
So you've tried the wool pad, and we put the foam pad on the machine. Now some paints, this is a very hard paint. And when we say hard paint or soft paint, a soft paint is a paint that will, as soon as you put a polisher to it, seems to disappear under the polish. It just melts away. Whereas a hard paint is very stiff and it resists any effort to polish it. And sometimes a less aggressive pad actually does a better job on a hard paint. Because what we're doing is we're not trying to remove all the paint around the scratch. We're actually taking the softer pad and rounding over the edges on each side of the scratch. So if you look at the scratch, it's like a V in the paint. Well, what we're doing is rounding over those corners so our eyes don't see it anymore. So let me wash the pad for you here.
Why are we washing the pad?
The reason we're washing the pad is we don't want any dry spots on the pad. The other thing is it gives us a pad that's a little softer. So if you feel this pad, it's stiff, and if you feel this one, it's softer. Same pad, but that dampness softens it up. So it can follow the contours of the paint a little better. Now here we don't have extreme contours, so it is relatively flat.
So like how do I, so say I'm like polishing and I can't reach it, like what do I do?
Okay, so I'll show you a few examples. So let's get polish on here.
Like if I'm like barely even, like if my posture's right and I still can't reach it.
Right, so if your posture's correct, that's when using one hand can help.
Okay.
The other thing is you can change sides. So this hood is very long on this Jeep, and we have this bumper that sticks out almost a foot. So it's difficult to get in there like a car, and it's high up. You can also stand on a little stool or a ladder to get closer. So it's just thinking a little bit outside the box. Polisher, speed 3, and always use the trigger lock. Trigger lock is there for a couple of reasons. The manufacturer actually spends time to put that there. They do it for a reason. That reason is if you're not using the trigger lock, you're actually locking this wrist up and you're putting pressure on your hand and the finger, and over time that's going to wear on you. It's going to be harder to do and it's going to be sore. The other thing is when you lock your wrist up, you actually lock your elbow up a little bit as well. So if you squeeze that, just take time to feel what your elbow and your wrist are doing. So give it a try.
Yeah, because I broke this wrist, so it hurts even more.
Oh, okay.
When I do that.
So the trigger lock is even more important for you. So we use the trigger lock. And now the machine, I'm a little taller than you are, but I can go all the way up there if I want to. And our polish, even on these black things, not a problem.
Okay.
It's not going to damage them, and it's not going to damage the pad. There you go. Are you right-handed or left-handed?
Right-handed.
Okay. Very good. You stopped it while it's on the paint. You never want to lift it up while it's still turning.
Okay.
Because then that's when you can get that sling of product everywhere.
Okay.
Now, the machine, relatively easy to control, simple to do. One thing that you'll want to try just to keep in mind, and it's a good memory trick, is you want to go up and down. So let me grab a pad here so it's easier to visualize. So you want to go up and down with the machine with a 50% overlap. So the pad is 6.5 inches wide. We go to the half of it.
Okay.
Come back, go half, go back up, half. So that's one direction. Then we go in the other direction, doing the same thing. So 50% overlap. And then the last pass, you go up and down. So you can go up and down, left, right, up, down. And then you stop to take a look.
Okay.
So let's take a look. So let me grab the machine. If you want to do the damp towel first. And then the dry towel. So here you didn't do the damn towel. See how it is harder to rub?
Yeah.
Yeah. Much easier now?
Yes.
So a lot less swirls.
Mm-hmm.
How much improvement do you think?
Probably like a 75% improvement.
Yeah. So this out in the sun will be beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, is there any other time that we have to turn the speed up?
Actually, no.
Okay.
You can turn the speed down, but turning the speed up is not going to help you. The other thing that's not going to help is you working too much.
Okay.
So if your father comes in and says, hurry up, slow down.
Okay.
Because that's actually what he's telling you to do.
Yeah.
Because instead of, when I say hurry up, so let me just take the machine here. So what we don't want to do is this. That does nothing other than make you look stupid. But if you want to speed up, you actually slow down your arm movement.
Okay.
Because you're letting the pad do more work for you. So the slower you move, the faster you work. So if he comes in and says, Isabelle, speed up, slow down.
Okay.
Because you'll actually be speeding up. You'll be speeding the work up, you'll physically be slowing down.
So you don't have to go over it again?
No, you don't have to go crazy with it. You're not scrubbing it.
Yeah.
You're letting the machine do the work for you. The other big concern, you can actually move too slowly. And what that does is create heat. And we don't want to create heat. So, but these pads are safe, the machine is safe. And since I'm not using any pressure on the machine, I can actually let it sit here for a little while. Now, I want you to get your hand ready. You're going to feel the temperature difference between there and where the machine is.
Okay. Hot.
Yeah. It's hot, but it's not...
Like burnt hot.
No, or your dishwater is hotter than that. So it's not excessively hot. We never want to get paint hot.
Okay. What would it do if it was hot?
What happens is the paint gets soft, and when the paint gets soft, it swells. So like Botox, you know what Botox is? It does like a Botox effect. It makes it look really good. But eventually that swelling goes down, and when the swelling goes down, you have all sorts of cracks. So the wrinkles come back in the old lady's face. So there we have it. Now, there's one other tool. You're young. You're not influenced yet. There are people that are afraid of this tool. They're grown men that if you put this tool in their hand, they'll weep like a little baby. And that's the rotary.
Okay.
So, on the backing plate, there's a hole, and on the pad, there's a hole. We want to line them both up. And that helps you to have better balance with the machine.
Okay.
Less vibration. We want to clean the pad, as always. Now I'm going to put out the speed 6. And make sure we have all that moisture out of the pad. And if you feel the pad, it's just damp. It's not wet.
Yeah.
You're not, you don't have your hands all wet from it.
Yeah.
Back to speed 1. One aggressive spray on there, so we have little droplets all over the backing plate. That's all we need. We don't need 2 sprays. 2 is not better.
Yeah.
1 is all you need. And the rotary, like I said, a lot of people are afraid of this. And you might have seen pictures online. People are using the rotary. They're all hunched over it. It's on an angle. It's going really fast. There's almost smoke coming out of it. Yeah. You don't need to smell the polish. Okay. You don't need to be bent over it. Stand up straight. Okay. And then we'll use the trigger lock again, and you'll see just how easy the rotary is to control. So 2 fingers. That's all it takes to control the rotary.
Okay.
And I can bring it to wherever I need to go. Now, you ever seen those people polishing floors in like a hospital or a school?
Yes.
Okay. That machine is basically just a really, really big rotary. Oh. And they're polishing it. It looks like no effort whatsoever. They're just going down the hallway, no big deal. if they were to pass, not you, because you're learning this, but if they were to pass your sister that machine, she'd be bouncing off the walls until she ran out of extension cord because she's probably holding onto the machine with a death grip. The more you hold onto it, the more you have to work.
Okay.
The less you hold onto it, the better control you'll have over the machine. Now, you need to be safe. You need to have a point of contact here and a point of contact there. Now, when we're doing like up further away, you can do it with one hand. Again, very easy to control. I just have 2 fingers on it. And just like that hallway, you know, the floor scrubber, if I put pressure downwards here, the machine wants to go that way.
Okay.
If I lift up on the machine, it wants to go that way.
Okay.
If I tilt to one side, it wants to go on the opposite side we're tilting.
Okay.
So our goal is to keep it flat and be able to keep it in the same spot without any pressure. Now, you don't have to go that far up. You can do it on the edge here. So grab the machine. It's all yours. Now this hand, you seem to be really tight on the handle. Just hold it with 2 fingers. And you don't have to have your hand over top because you're shorter than I am. You can actually put your hand underneath the machine.
Oh.
So you're just cradling the machine. See, now you're barely holding on to it. Your thumb isn't even touching it. So. Now, a horizontal panel like this is the easiest one to do. And I get asked a lot of times, yeah, but you're showing people on the horizontal panel, but what about a curve? What about a vertical panel? Well, you've got a nice vertical panel on the edge of the hood there. Go for it. So you can stand to the side. Don't forget the cord over the shoulder. So is it difficult to control?
No.
Now, for your body, you actually want to stand right by the fender there.
Here?
Yeah. That way you have better control. Now, one thing you have to be careful of, Jeeps are really difficult vehicles to detail, and I know the Jeep is the vehicle you want, but you have to be careful when you're doing this, and when you go there, that the backing plate doesn't cut into the fender. So just have to be a little more cautious, but not that much. And then it's super easy to control. So you just have to be cognizant of where your pad is going.
Okay.
So you polished this section?
Yes.
Let's see if you have holograms.
What are holograms?
What are holograms? Excellent question. So holograms, remember in the cereal package, sometimes you'll get this thing that you look at it one way, it looks like one thing, you tilt it one way and you see a completely other image?
Yes.
That's what a hologram is. And we'll post a picture here, but there's a lot of detailers that with the rotary, they create these spectacular, it looks like art almost. They have these deep holograms that it's like waves going down the side of a car. You'll never do that unless you try. So let's wipe this off. Now on a white paint, admittedly, it's difficult to see holograms, but you can see them. But I'm confident that you will not have made any holograms whatsoever. So when we're looking at the light, again, if you had holograms, they would really show up in the reflection of the light. Without the light, just looking at the hood, we wouldn't see holograms on this. But if it were a dark car, we definitely see holograms. If you had any, but you don't have any. So the pad helps you to not create holograms, the waffle pad.
Okay.
Because you've seen flat pads before, right?
Yes.
So I wake up around 3:30 every morning, so I can hate flat pads a little longer every day. Because they're difficult to control. They're difficult to work with. And they sling product. They're just for me, not conducive to working properly.
Yeah.
Whereas a waffle pad, it allows you space for air, so it's going to cool the surface as it's working, so it's not going to create heat. And the other aspect of the waffle pad is it actually conforms. Like when you were going around here, you had a much better contact because the waffle pad follows that surface as opposed to a flat pad that's going to be very thin.
Okay.
So you're putting less pressure, less heat, and getting a better finish.
Yes.
Any other questions?
I don't think so.
Excellent. So we're going to continue on this hood, and we're going to see you in the next series of teaching a teenager how to detail.